Welcome to the 10th IndieRef Weekly Review, bringing you a roundup of news you maybe missed every week until the Scottish independence referendum in September. This week, celebrities and trade deficits. But first, a few folk may have been following the general reaction to the big debate between Alex Salmond and Alistair Darling on STV earlier this week. Now, the focus so far has been on Salmond's apparent failure to outline a plan B should the UK block a currency union. Well, here they are, Plan B, C and D. That information has been available for over a year, and these are only a few options that are really available to us. However, the fact is, we will have a currency union if we want one. Last year, Alistair Darling himself said that a currency union was both logical and desirable. Even George Osborne, Chancellor of the Exchequer, had no intention of ruling out a currency union until he was pressured to. Scotland is currently England's second largest export market. We do billions of pounds worth of trade with each other every year, and to block a move that would allow that to continue would be disastrous for England's economy. Ed Miliband this week even confirmed that if a currency union was blocked, it would result in millions of pounds worth of charges and be damaging to trade. I understand concerns that a currency union would result in England having to bail out Scotland in the event of everything going wrong, and why folk often cite how the UK government bailed out the banks during the financial crisis. But when you look a little closer, you find out that even that isn't true. Barclays was bailed out by the US Federal Reserve, which provided £552 billion. The US Federal Reserve also made emergency loans available to RBS, reaching £285 billion, and to HBOS, reaching £115 billion. So, if the UK was mostly bailed out by foreign investment and it is logical to share a currency union, why would Darling and the No Camp continue to state that there will be no currency union? Why have they focused so heavily on that this week? It's because they know that this is the single issue that they can give an apparent, definitive answer on. Both sides of the debate have folk lining up and disagreeing with each other about what could happen after a yes vote. But this is the one thing that they could say will not happen because it is up to them. And that is why they are saying it. It is a political move, but it's also more than that. There are arguments in this debate that the No Camp will never win, which is why they're trying to make the currency union the single issue of the entire campaign. See, I realise that I've never actually told you all why I'm voting yes. I'm voting yes because there is a very serious democratic deficit in the UK. This represents every elected member of the House of Commons in Parliament in the UK. Each little person represents 1%. This is how much influence MPs elected in Scotland currently have on policy that affects Scotland and all of the UK. But even that isn't correct, because that doesn't include the House of Lords, who also have the power to introduce and amend bills. When you factor in the complete Houses of Parliament, this is what we have left. That is how much influence elected members of Parliament from Scotland have on the policies made that affect Scotland. Just let that sink in. 3.6%. This was further pushed today when an MSP from the Scottish Parliament wrote to the Department of Work and Pensions over concerns on welfare reform. The Department of Work and Pensions, whose policies have been blamed for the 400% rise in food bank use in Scotland, then responded to say that from now on, they will only respond to queries from members of Parliament at Westminster. The Scottish Parliament doesn't count. Now, the No Camp will continue to use this tactic of saying that there will be no currency union to distract you from the real issues of remaining a part of the UK, to distract you from how little representation we have at Westminster. And this is why Alex Salmond did not answer Darling when asked about Plan B, because he knew that if he had, it would have led to debate over each and every option, debate that would only have distracted everyone and pulled them further and further from the real question, which isn't about currency, but about what kind of country we can be when we have control. This week on Project Fear, the ongoing campaign to keep you scared of independence, we learn that Scotland's export markets flourish thanks to the UK government's influence and network. In fact, it was one of the key points made in that little booklet sent out recently telling you why we should stay together. It'll come as a surprise then that the UK trade deficit has widened further as British exports fell more than imports for the third month in a row. Chris Williamson, a chief economist of Market, has said that it is likely to get even worse in the coming months. So, what happened to all that security that having the best of both worlds provided? Well, it turns out that the UK government has not really been doing that much to push exports for Scotland anyway. A report published last year revealed that UK embassies around the world have no plans for St Andrew's Day events to help promote Scotland's brand and her exports. unlike what we see happening with Ireland and St Patrick's Day. Back in 2012, William Hague, who was then the UK Foreign Secretary, stated that if we voted yes, the UK would no longer promote Scottish whisky in its embassies. That backfired a little when, after doing some digging, it was revealed that whenever the Scottish Development Body used an embassy to promote whisky exports, they were charged up to £3,000, while UK trade and investment groups got to use them for free. Maybe the UK does help promote Scottish exports, but only when we pay them to do it. In fact, Scottish Development International is currently judged to be one of the most successful international development agencies in the world, with Channel 4's fact-check blog stating that Scotland has the best record for international investment. So on the one hand, we have Scottish exports either being ignored or having to pay the UK government to promote them in an export market in decline, and on the other, world-renowned products being promoted by one of the most successful international development agencies in the world. If we vote yes, we'll have the chance to really build the Scottish brand. And now on to the final section, it's the fact of the day. This week, Scotland got love-bombed. Celebrities, both heard of and not so much, sent a letter up to Scotland explaining that we would be missed if we left. First of all, and I know I don't need to explain this, but I will anyway, a celebrity saying that they will miss us is not an argument against independence. It's fluff. And when you look at what those folks who signed the letter have actually said about Scotland in the past, you can't help but doubt the sincerity of it just a bit. David Starkey, the historian, said that Scotland was a feeble little country. Ross Kemp likened Glasgow to a third world war zone, and Rod Liddell, the right-wing columnist, stated the only reason any people remain in Scotland is on account of the extremely cheap alcohol available in supermarkets, plus a ready supply of heroin for when the alcohol runs out. I find it kind of worrying that many seem to have signed it without even looking at why we're having this debate in the first place. But what annoyed me slightly more this week was the No Camp's response to the debate on Tuesday and Salmon's refusal to entertain the Plan B currency question. We have seen campaigners out with images of Salmon's head on a pound coin and just a general smugness that is unsettling. If ever there was a week that really showed what politics has become in the UK, this was it. Smugness and celebrities. Maybe that's why the average UK election turnout is only about 30%, while in other North European countries, it's 70%. Frankly, it's embarrassing that the No Camp think a few celebrities signing a letter will influence a movement that is driven by hope, by the potential of Scotland, and by the idea of creating a more equal society that puts all of us first. Maybe that's why it's expected that we will have a record turnout for this referendum, with over 75% of the population voting, because for the first time in a long time, our votes will actually count for something. Still think we're better together? That's everything for this week. Links to everything I've spoken about are below. If you have any questions on independence or you want to share a story, you can send it over to indianethcommunity@gmail.com. Follow me on Twitter @StephenPayton134. Please do share, like and subscribe. I will see you all next week. And remember, don't hate the media, become the media.